Foster Your Destiny, where we chart a course from surviving to thriving. Today's affirmation is, you were always worthy of being chosen, even when the system said no. Today I want to talk about something deeply personal and timely. We're diving into the people who loved us, wanted us, and showed up for us, but couldn't adopt us because the system didn't allow it. I want to talk about what's changing today and what still needs to change. Let's break it down. Foster care starts when a child is removed from their home, often due to abuse, neglect, or unsafe conditions. The goal is usually reunification, helping families stabilize and bring their children home. But when that's not possible, the next step should be permanency, finding a stable long-term family. That could be through adoption, or even better, through kinship care or fictive kin care. Kinship care means placing a child with relatives, grandparents, aunts, older siblings. Fictive kin means placing them with someone who feels like family, a neighbor, coach, teacher, godparent, people who already know and love that child. And yet the system doesn't always say yes. When you enter foster care, you don't just lose your parents or your home, you lose your community. You lose your routine, your school, your pets, your people. You also lose that one friend who may know your secrets or who you just get along with. The neighbor who let you crash on the couch, your cousin who is basically your sibling. Gone. Not because they stopped loving you, but because the system didn't prioritize keeping them in your life. If you've lived it, you know the pain of that. You might have wondered, why does everyone disappear when I need them the most? As a social worker, I've met so many youth carrying that same invisible grief. And as someone who lived through it, I still remember that silence. The unanswered calls, the shifting schools, the birthdays nobody remembered. That kind of loss doesn't just show up on paper, but it does show up in the heart. When I was younger in foster care, there were people who stepped up. A friend's mom, a neighbor, even a couple of mentors. They offered to adopt me. They saw me, supported me, and gave me safety, but they were told no. One didn't have the right income, another had an old record, one was just told they weren't a licensed foster home already, and just like that, love wasn't enough. I remember sitting on a stoop outside one of those homes feeling both wanted and unwanted at the same time. It shaped something inside of me. It told me love wasn't a guarantee, that the system had more power than the people who actually showed up. Now, I know that wasn't true, and I was so grateful for all those people in my life, and still am. If you've experienced this or know someone who has, please like this video, comment, and share this video. Let's bring light to these stories, and visit the Foster Your Destiny store over at Etsy, where 10% of the proceeds go to support youth aging out of the system. You can wear something that represents hope and healing and support the mission towards helping the foster youth. Here's the thing, for decades the foster care system had rules that unintentionally blocked loving adults from stepping in. Criminal background checks with no context, strict income rules, the assumption that only people with perfect records or ideal homes could parent. According to the Adoption and Foster Care Analysis and Reporting System, only about 1 in 4 children adopted from foster care in the early 2000s were adopted by relatives or familiar adults. That meant 75% of the kids were placed with strangers. Organizations like the Annie E. Casey Foundation and Think of Us pushed hard to change that, and change is happening. In Kansas, recent policy shifts now allow trusted adults, even if not blood relatives, to become guardians or adopted parents. This is called prioritizing kinship and fictive kin placements, and research backs this up. A 2023 Child Welfare Information Gateway report found that kids placed with people they already know have better mental health, fewer placement disruptions, and stronger social outcomes. As Child Trends Journal said in 2022, when children can stay connected to the people who love them, healing happens faster. Belonging is medicine. Here are some tools and takeaways. So, what can you do? If you're a foster parent, youth mentor, or kinship caregiver, get informed on your state's Kin First policy. Advocate locally for expanded definitions of family and placement. If you were one of those adults told you couldn't be adopted by someone you loved or that you couldn't adopt, know that your love still matters. Visit childwelfare.gov for resources and kinship support tools. Ask your local child welfare agency about current policies. Be the advocate you needed back then. I want to close with this other affirmation. Love doesn't need to be perfect to be permanent. It just needs a chance. And here's a nugget of wisdom for our destiny navigators. Sometimes the people meant to raise you are standing right there, but the system just hasn't caught up to your story yet. Keep showing up for love. Keep fighting for belonging. Thank you for listening, healing, and for growing with me.